modern browsers provide developer tools, and these can be really handy when you're making changes to the style. And to get to those, each browser's a little bit different. So there's two things that will work on almost all of them. So if one doesn't work, try the other one. One is to just use F12. And in this case, notice that it opens up over here are these developer tools. And they might open up across the bottom. Those are things that you can change. The other way is to right-click or control-click if you're on a Mac and choose Inspect or Inspect Element. So two different ways to open them up, and most browsers one or the other of those will work. And if it doesn't, then go ahead and just Google how to open the developer tools for the browser that you're using. Now, there's lots of different rules up here, categories. So the one we want is the one that says Elements. So try to find that and highlight it. And then notice in here that you have the whole structure of the web page. So inside the body, if I expand the body, then it tells me the different sections, and I can expand the header, and it shows me the images in there. And if I click on one element, it highlights it over there. So let's go down to the nav. So I can open up the nav, and I can see that there's a heading 1, and see over there, it highlights it. And if I do the UL, it highlights the whole unordered list. If I highlight the article section, it highlights all that. So this helps us see where all of the different elements are, and we can drill down as deep as we want to. The other thing it shows us here are the styles. And so we can look at what styles are set on these. And we can play with them. So we can make changes over here in the styles without actually making a change, right? If we want to make changes to the styles, we would be over here working in the style sheets and actually typing the styles if we wanted those styles to last. But if we just wanted to go in and see what happens when we do it, we can do this right here in the developer tools, and it doesn't really actually impact it. So for example, we can go to the nav, and we can see that the user agent, now the user agent is the browser style sheet. So those are already set. On the nav, display is set to block. This is set by the browser. And that's what it'll be unless we add an author style that would change it. And the color is set to an internal root color. And that's a setting in the browser that specifies what color the text will be inside the HTML document. And now if we look at nav, here's the author style sheet. It says right here in tss_layout.css, here's a style that's being applied, these ones that are in there. And we can find those styles by going to our editor and going to the TSS layout, and we can find the different styles that are being set on the nav. If we look, there's nav right there. This is nav inside body, so a child of body called nav, and there's those same properties. And we can see them in these developer tools in the browser. Now, the things that we can do is we can say, well, what about if I take this property off? So I can just uncheck it, and it removes that property. It tells me what difference that will make if I have it or not. Now, this one I can say, oh, what happens if I take the float off? And that really made quite a difference, right? And so I can just play with this and see what the difference is. Now, when I do this, when I take float off here, again, it's not making any change in the code. And when I refresh this, it will go away. So I can say, oh, here, let's just see how it made that change. If I just refresh it, it goes back to what it was. Another thing I can say, oh, what if I want to change that float to right? What happens if I do that? Look, it moved that nav. So this is a way to do two things. One, drill down to find individual elements that you want to look at. And two, to be able to change style and see what effect it has, or remove style and see if it makes a difference. You can even add a style property. So I can just click over on there and I can say, oh, I want to make the color, set the color property to red. And what happens when I do that? And there you go. You see what would happen if I changed that color property to red. Anyway, very powerful and helpful. Using these developer tools is very informative and helpful to figure out things that you might want to change.